Hi guys, this is Alisa from Alisa's Transmuting Tarot Facebook page. Now, I'm a tarot reader and I'm a spiritually developing person. From time to time, I get different epiphanies, and when I get my epiphanies, I really want to share this information with everybody because I feel like, oh, my epiphanies really changed my life in a positive way. So it would be really great if this information also helped somebody else. I'm just usually super eager to share information with you guys. And so this is what I'm doing today. Now, I'm basically continuing the topic of taking responsibility for your own life. I did a video on that before, and I do encourage you to watch that video because I do feel like it's the very basis that can help you really understand the topic. But just to really sum it up right now, for a better understanding, let's say that the way I see it is that taking responsibility for your own life essentially means admitting that whatever your energy did or is still doing, you're responsible for that because you are your energy. So, okay, let me make it a little bit more clear. So, in other words, what I'm saying is that if in the past, for example, in your past lives, or just in this lifetime, but in the past, you took certain action or actions, and that means that you are your energy, so your energy that took some action or actions, then you are responsible for the consequences of those actions, right? Also, I said that I feel that we need to take responsibility for the fact that our energy chose certain general life path or general intention for this lifetime for itself. And of course, the third aspect was that we should take responsibility for whatever we're creating right now, currently, in this lifetime. So those were the three aspects that I talked about in the previous video. If you want to really understand it better, you can watch the video. So today I'm continuing this topic of taking responsibility for your own life. However, I want to discuss a controversial, I guess, question, or maybe a very logical question, actually. What's wrong with not taking responsibility for your own life? Because, ultimately, taking responsibility for your own life sounds like, oh, even though consciously you don't really remember that your energy chose certain life path for itself, even though consciously you don't remember doing anything, I don't know, negative or positive in previous lifetimes. So when you admit and you agree that you're responsible for it all, and let's say consciously you're not aware that you're creating certain things in your life at the moment, even though consciously you don't remember any of it for some inexplicable reason, you should just say, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, that's my energy. I take responsibility for that. Oh, and I want to make a short disclaimer, guys. By the way, whatever I say here, this is the way I feel and I see things. If you resonate with that, that's super great. Keep on watching and keep on listening. If you don't resonate, that's obviously fine. Just move on and find the video that resonates with you, okay? All right, so coming back to what's wrong with not taking responsibility for your own life. Generally speaking, from energetic point of view, there is nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Energetically speaking, your energy has the right to develop at any pace it chooses to, at any pace it can, and we know that you always do the best you can at any given moment. Ultimately, let's say if you could do better, you would, right? So if at different points of your life you could not take responsibility for your own life, that means that you just couldn't. So no judgment there. In 3D reality, people might still judge you. Let's be honest about that. But that's just 3D reality. So whether you choose to be bothered by that or not, this is your choice. Now let's talk about some real real consequences of not taking responsibility for your own life. The way I see it, there are two major consequences of not taking responsibility for your own life, and they are both negative. Sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. But yeah. Okay, here's how I see it. Consequence number one, if you choose not to take responsibility for your own life, is that you will feel unhappy. This is consequence number one. Why will you feel, you will feel unhappy, or you might feel like you're kind of happy on the surface, but you're not truly deeply happy. So I'm talking about true happiness here. So why would you not feel truly happy if you are not taking responsibility for your own life? Because when you're not taking responsibility for your own life, that means that you are in a victim mode. So you feel like a victim. Can you imagine any victim being happy, especially truly happy? Like, think about this logically. Imagine you're a victim. Poor victim, surrounded by aggressors from everywhere around it. Now, so all characters around this victim are aggressors. The life itself is perceived by this victim as a huge aggressor that is just gonna swallow it up. Everything seems dangerous. Living seems dangerous. Dying seems dangerous. People and situations seem dangerous. It's like a constant struggle and constant danger zone. It's like being in a victim mode is like this constant, fight or flight mode or freeze mode. It's like run for your life, basically. It's a very unnerving state. You most certainly do not feel safe when you're a victim, and therefore there is just no possibility for you to be happy in that state. You might sometimes get a little bit calmer in some situations, but it will always be only temporary. So it might be like a surface kind of happiness a little bit. You will be completely dependent on people and the situations around you. So let's say if your general life situation gets a little bit easier, then you're like, oh, okay, then it's fine. And you feel a little bit, more confident, a little bit like, okay, maybe things are not that bad. Or if you are surrounded for some reason by some nicer people, then you're like, oh, okay, life is fine. But then once you get once again in a difficult situation, or you get into a group of people who are not so great, you automatically feel like a victim again. So ultimately, the state of being a victim doesn't really go anywhere. It still stays there. It's just, sometimes it gets a little bit calmer, or it hides a little bit, let's say, under the surface. Now let's talk about the second consequence. So the first one was not being truly happy if you don't take responsibility for your own life. The second consequence that I see is that being a victim is a very tricky thing. And I would say this is the consequence or aspect that most people really don't want to hear. They really don't like hearing this, and it's a very uncomfortable truth. Yet it is the truth. So I feel like whether we like it or not, we need to face it. The thing is that once you're in this victim mode, victims tend to flip. Now, whether you realized this before or not, the thing is that an aggressor is really just the other side of being a victim. So it's the same coin, ultimately, and sometimes it flips this way and you see a victim, and sometimes it flips that way and you see an aggressor or a perpetrator, however you want to call it. Let's call it aggressor. So what you might not have realized before is that when people behave in an aggressive way towards you, usually it's because they feel like victims themselves, perhaps with you in certain situations in life, or perhaps they felt like victims in the past with somebody else in certain situations, and now when they meet certain people like you, you trigger something in them and they start attacking. But ultimately you trigger the victim in them and they start attacking. So here's how it works. Let's say somebody was really aggressive towards you in any way, let's say verbally, and you felt really like a victim. You felt helpless, you felt like you couldn't defend yourself, you felt like you didn't know what to do. What happens is, let's say you come home, or you get this moment when you have some quiet time with, just with yourself, and what do you start thinking? You start thinking negative thoughts towards that person who was aggressive towards you, right? So in your mind, you're thinking about like perfect revenge. You're thinking like, how did this person dare do this and this to me? How did he or she dare say this and that to me? Next time we meet, I'm gonna say this and this to this person. Or maybe you think, because maybe you feel like you can never really defend yourself in front of this person, so maybe it just in your mind you defend yourself. So you start talking back at this person, you start being also aggressive towards that person, etc., etc. Now, in this magical way, you've just turned into an aggressor yourself. And obviously, we feel like we have this noble cause, right? Because somebody attacked us, so we just feel like we have to defend ourselves. But if you feel like a victim in general in your life, you're gonna defend yourself in every single situation, even if nobody's attacking you. Why? Because you will feel like a victim in any situation, anyway. And even if nobody's attacking you, you will perceive every single interaction and every single action towards you as if it was an attack. Can you imagine that? Isn't it crazy? I mean, ultimately it actually makes complete sense. Think about it. Let's say, let's talk, or let's portray it in more physical terms. So imagine, I don't know, somebody attacked you physically and really wounded you, so you have lots of wounds. And you didn't do anything with those wounds, so you chose not to heal. You chose to stay in a victim mode. You chose to stay in a victim mode. So what happens is that obviously with time, so first of all, those wounds really ache. They ache, they hurt. I don't know, you can, You can get, those wounds can get infected, right? So if you don't really attend to your wounds, then they're just gonna get worse and worse and worse. So your general state is gonna get worse and worse and worse. And so the next time you meet somebody completely different, who is not an aggressor, who's not gonna attack you, who's not gonna do anything bad to you, let's say this person might be like, oh, would you like me to give you that? And just this simple gesture of, you know, this hand being pointed towards you, in your psyche, in your victim mode, since you're already aching all over, you might be like, oh my God, if this person touches me, it's gonna really hurt. So you're gonna be like, oh no, don't come to me, don't get closer, I don't want to talk to you. So you get defensive, right? You get defensive. And with time, obviously, your wounds are gonna get even worse. And let's say after a while you meet another aggressor. Your wounds are still not healed. Why are they still not healed? Because you chose not to heal them. Because you chose to stay in the victim mode. You chose to say, no, I'm gonna be a victim. I'm gonna stay with my wounds, and I want everyone to know that I'm the victim. And so obviously, if this person starts attacking again, you will have a really big reaction, either as a victim or as an aggressor yourself. And then you start meeting other people, and before they even have a chance to prove to be aggressors or really nice people, you already get into such defensive mode that you feel that the best defense is actually an attack. So you start thinking, in order not to give anybody even a chance to harm you in any way, you need to attack first, immediately, as soon as you see this person. Okay? So what does it make you? Very quickly, by the way, it makes you an aggressor. And this is the story, and this is the path that your aggressor, who attacked you at some point in your life, has gone through. And yeah, and this person also chose not to heal, right? So, as you can see, being a victim or not taking responsibility for your own life is kind of dangerous. Dangerous in the sense of you perpetuate hurt, you perpetuate aggression that was done to you. I'm sure you heard this really nice expression, which goes like this: hurt people hurt people. Right? Once again, hurt people hurt people. So those people who had been hurt by somebody else in the past, they actually continue doing the same. So they pass it on. They also hurt others. And this is the biggest danger of being in the victim mode, the biggest negative consequence of being in the victim mode, of not taking responsibility for your own life. Because ultimately, what we're looking at is a society where everybody feels like a victim, or let's say most of the society feels like a victim, and nobody wants to be the bigger person who chooses to take responsibility for the fact that it was their energy that chose to attract those aggressors into its life, that it was their energy that chose to go through certain really, really difficult experiences. I'm not diminishing your experiences. I know that like some of our life lessons can be so challenging that it's crazy. And yet, it was your own energy that specifically chose to go through all of that And it wasn't for nothing. It had very good reason, really. And so when you choose to take responsibility for your own life, then you can heal. Then you can choose to heal your wounds and be like, okay, I've gone through that. That was really painful. That was really challenging. That was really difficult. Now I'm choosing to heal that. And now I'm choosing to use my energy consciously in such a way that I create any life that I want. And if you choose not to, then you just perpetuate this constant feeling of being a victim, and at the same time being really aggressive towards everyone around you, and at the same time being very unhappy. And this is exactly the society that we live in today. So it's really about being the bigger person. It's really about breaking this chain. It's really about being the first one in your group of people, in your surrounding, in your environment, who chooses to live life deliberately, who chooses to live life consciously. And once you do that, other people are like, huh, that's interesting. There is something about them that's different. And this is how you cause change. All right, this is how you cause change. And I also want to tell you that I know that when you're in a victim mode and you really, really feel like a victim, and you really feel like people have been mistreating you, life has been mistreating you, and that it was so unfair, you do feel like those people don't deserve my forgiveness. Or you feel like if you're going to be this bigger person, then those people, those aggressors, will never get what they deserve, something like this. Well, there are certain things that I want to tell you here. First of all, karma always works. It really does. It really, really, truly does. And I can tell you this because I've lived long enough to see that it works. And the longer I live, the more I see this. And I notice that, yes, sometimes it takes karma several years, maybe even, 10, 20, 30 years to come back to somebody. But it really, truly does. There's just no way around it. So if you're afraid that somebody won't get what they deserve, they will get what they deserve. Trust me. Karma will work for you. You don't need to do anything else. Another aspect of that is people choose not to get out of their victim mode because they feel like, let's say somebody hurt them, and they want this aggressor to come and heal their wounds. So they don't want to heal their wounds themselves. They want that aggressor to come back to them, apologize, obviously, and heal their wounds. Now, do you think there is a very high likelihood that this is going to happen? Honestly, like from my perspective, the likelihood is really low. I feel like there is a certain percentage of crazy aggressors who might actually heal your wounds just to hurt you again because they really thrive on that. But I don't even want to think about such people. This is horrible. Anyway, usually aggressors just hurt you and then they leave and they don't really care about your wounds. So if you stay in this victim mode because you're kind of like still waiting for the aggressor to come back and heal your wounds or take responsibility for your wounds, this is not going to happen. It's like, I mean, it might happen billion years later when your wounds already don't need healing because you've already healed them yourself. So you might get an apology from that aggressor, let's say. But ultimately, you're responsible for your wounds. Because once again, let's look at the situation from a physical perspective. For example, if you have an attacker, so a physical aggressor who attacked you physically in 3D world, and let's say this person physically attacked you and left, or you managed to run away, then do you think it would be a good idea to then look for that aggressor and come and show all your wounds and say like, heal them? I don't think it's going to be a good idea. I honestly wouldn't advise on that. So ultimately, once you already managed to run away, or once you stayed on your own with your wounds, it is your responsibility then to go to a doctor, or to go to, I don't know, or to go home and attend to your wounds, or to go to a healer. Do something to heal your body, right? The same thing happens to your energy. So if somebody attacked you emotionally, or you know this expression how people say, oh, you hurt my feelings? Well, here's the tough love. Yes, it is really, really wrong when people hurt our feelings. And yes, karma will get to them, so they are gonna get what they deserve. However, other people don't owe us anything. Nobody owes us anything. So other people don't have to be nice to us. Other people don't have to be considerate of us. Other people don't have to be kind towards us. They can, but they don't have to. So ultimately, it's our responsibility what to do in such situations. So let's say if you meet a person who is really being aggressive towards you, let's say verbally, or physically, doesn't really matter, then it's your responsibility not to say, oh, I'm a victim here, you're hurting my feelings. It's more about, what do you choose to do from there? So you can either just completely leave this situation and create some certain boundary between you and that person so that you never ever meet again. Or you can choose to talk very clearly to that person in such a way that maybe you choose to, for example, if that person is yelling at you, maybe you choose also to start yelling at that person. But the important thing here is even if you're also yelling back at this person, this yelling should come from this feeling of power, from this feeling of, I am taking responsibility for my own life. I am responsible for my own life. This is my energy choosing its path, and not from this feeling of like, I'm a poor victim, so I'm just gonna also start yelling or shouting at you. Okay? So this point from which whatever reaction comes, it always has to be this feeling of power. I am powerful. And so this way, the situation always resolves better and easier. You might choose to run away from the situation. This is also fine. So let's say if somebody is attacking you, there is an aggressor, and you feel like there is definitely a life-threatening or health-threatening situation, then you can just choose to run away. And still, if you are doing this from this feeling of power, of like, I'm fighting for my life, or I'm running for my life, then this is fine. So whatever reaction you choose to do, even if you choose to say, you're hurting my feelings now, I would like you to stop yelling at me, for example, still, there is a huge difference between you doing it from this feeling of power and you doing this from the feeling of being a victim. So I most certainly encourage you to take responsibility for your own life. I do feel like it's not It's so to say not very profitable. It's not very great to be a victim in life. Really, I feel like there are just negative consequences there. So yeah, I do encourage you to take responsibility for your own life, to be happy, to pass on this feeling of power. I hope this video was helpful to you. Do let me know in the comments if you've ever caught yourself flipping from being a victim to being an aggressor. Really, really be honest with yourself, at least. And do let me know whether you've caught yourself, because most people don't like admitting that. If you're interested in a tarot reading, please do contact me on Alisa's Transmuting Tarot Facebook page. Have a great day. Thank you very much for watching this video, and all the best.